The Chinese economy has suffered hard because of Xi Jinping's zero COVID policy. There's a lot of global commentary around how this was being done and not changed with an eye on that Communist Party Congress. Do you think now the Chinese economy will start opening up more, and a lot of these restrictions, there's no way of knowing for sure, but a lot of these restrictions which are set to be kept in place so that there's no disturbance ahead of his re-election, do you think those will likely ease now?
Well, he said in his speech that zero COVID will not stop. I don't think there'll be a dramatic change, at least in the first few weeks and months. Possibly next year there will be some kinds of relaxations, that they'll be presented probably as innovations and responses to a changing situation. But the political commitment to having zero COVID is very, very strong. The economic situation in China is extremely difficult at the moment. He committed to a 5.5% GDP increase in the next few years, and that's ambitious. But I think that the Chinese economy will decide a lot of the political decisions, because while Xi Jinping is not necessarily solely interested in the economy as a political tool is very important to him and the party, and it needs to be in a good state, which clearly it isn't at the moment.
Now, how do you assess Xi's ability to deal with the challenges the Chinese economy faces? It's difficult from the outside to read what's happening, because there are so many wheels within wheels, so much black hole from where light doesn't emerge fully, given the fact that we know of the real estate bubble, the debt crisis, slowing growth. How do you see Xi trying to deal with some of those challenges?
Well, I mean, a centralized system such as his does have many policy tools it can use. I mean, I think obviously the big problem is slowing growth, and there's many contributions to that. One of which is the kind of state of the outside world, and that's had an impact on China. The disappearance of yet more of China's export markets, all these things don't help. He, in his speech, made clear that China is going to put a lot of effort into technological innovation, into education, into upgrading its economic system. So, it's not just about manufacturing. It's going to be more and more about service precision, more and more about creating new innovations technologically in China, and having a better kind of pool of technology. This is a long-term plan, but I think it's going to accelerate. So we can expect to see significant government investment in education, particularly in STEM subjects, so that there is less reliance on the world outside for this technology, and more autonomy for China. I think that's an absolutely key thing that this administration is now working on, because it's no longer trusting of America or Europe or others as technological partners. It just regards this as politicized, and it's going to try and go it alone more and more. Of course, it won't be easy, but that's what it's going to try and do.
To your mind, how does she see the relationship with India? When Prime Minister Modi got elected to power, the sense that was sought to be conveyed was that President Xi has a favorable disposition towards India. We've seen post-2020, the People's Liberation Army amassed along the line of actual control, continuing its aggressive military postures even today. From the way that you see it, how are China-India relations likely to evolve over the next 5 years?
Well, obviously India and China are, kind of big potential competitors, but they have no choice because of their huge shared border, but to collaborate, to try and cooperate with each other. And I think Modi, Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping, have put effort into building a personal relationship, which seems to be relatively positive. The complexity of the relationships, however, is going to really be from the fact that obviously India is becoming a stronger economic player, much more prominent than it used to be. It's likely that quite soon India's population will exceed China's, so that's sort of quite a symbolic moment. And it's also, true that this relationship is not one where there's a great deal, certainly on China's side, of understanding. I think that China has not invested much in trying to understand India. Its Belt and Road Initiative has obviously not been something that India has particularly embraced. China's tried to balance its relations with Pakistan, India, and of course other powers in the region. I mean, these are complex things that are kind of ones it's not particularly, I think, focused and prioritized before. But I think generally, with all of the issues that China has with America, with particularly kind of America and the European alliance system, very difficult relations with Russia at the moment, I think it would want a reasonably predictable relationship with India, something that is reasonably free of problems. I think it would be in the business, therefore, of creating quite a strong collaboration with India if it could.
What you're saying is logical, except
advice.
that facts on the ground seem to dispute that theory, because you've got the PLA amassed even now aggressively both in front of the Ladakh border and in Arunachal Pradesh. Those fortifications continuing, China investing very significantly in building border infrastructure and new military garrisons, leading many in India to wonder, where is she going with this military buildup?
Yeah, I mean, Xi's politics is very nationalistic. I mean, look, if I was an advisor to Xi Jinping, I would say that this should be ratcheted down. I mean, maybe after the Congress it will be. I mean, in the broad picture, China's issues with India are not as problematic as they are at all with America, for instance. But I mean, it's not an easy relationship, and the unresolved border dispute doesn't look like it's going to be resolved anytime soon. That will always be a cause of tension. So I think there will be problems. The issue is, are they big problems or manageable problems?
Okay.